It's Retro Podcast with your host, Retro Lion. We talk music, entertainment, films, and more. And now, here he is, live, Retro Lion. Welcome back to Retro Podcast. I am the host, Ben Cena, also known as the Retro Lion. Today we have Siobhan Fallon Hogan with us. You may recognize her from SNL, Men in Black, and a lot of Nickelodeon projects. Siobhan, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ben. I appreciate it.
How have you been?
Very good.
Now, currently, where do you live at the moment? I'm allowed to ask.
I live in New Jersey. I'm about an hour and 10 minutes from the city. Down as what we call the start of the shore.
Nice. And what's it like in New Jersey?
Oh, it's beautiful today. It's really beautiful. I go in the city a lot too. I have two daughters in the city, and I have a son close by here. So it's beautiful here in the fall.
So I was on YouTube the other day, and I found an interview that you were in a while back, and it was on the Seth Meyers show. And was that your first time meeting Seth Meyers, or have you met Seth Meyers?
You know what? It was the first time I'd ever met Seth. Yeah, because he was after me on SNL.
Nice. And was going to ask about SNL. What was your favorite memories working on that show?
Well, I met a lot of great friends on SNL, which I treasure, for all these years. Chris Farley was a great friend of mine and just an awesome guy. And I also became very good friends with Erin Maroney at the time, but then Frasier, and she worked with Lauren. She produced with Lauren. She actually dated Chris, and she produced with me both of the films that I wrote, Rushed and Shelter in Solitude. And she had a very sudden death about 2 years March. So I treasure the friendships, Marcy Klein, and all kinds of great friends I had. And, it was so exciting to be on. And I think as a young actress who was I was pegged at comedy at the time, it was just sort of a dream come true, and just really sort of like being in the Marines of comedy.
And speaking of comedy, you were in a movie a while back, a Nickelodeon movie called Fred. And
yes.
Fred was it started out as a YouTube series of videos, and then they made three whole movies. And what was your experience getting to be a part of that project?
Well, it was so fun. My friend David Goodman, who ended up he wrote on several shows, Golden Girls and Family Guy. And he was a really good friend of mine. He said, I wrote this film, this TV show that became a film, Fred, and would you play the mom? And so it was so fun because my part was just as crazy, not your typical mom in any way. I was like, yeah, I'm taking a nap, and yeah, I'm having a drink Friday. So it was like this crazy mother. So I had a blast. And Jake Weary, who I ended up working with on Rushed, he ended up playing in my film Rushed. He played the bad guy, was a young 19-year-old at the time. And so was, the woman from all the Geico commercials, Stephanie.
Yes.
She was in it as well. So it's funny, over the years you meet all these great people, and then you end up working with them again. So that was really fun show to do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and definitely when we hear It's a Small World, we think of the ride It's a Small World After All from Disney. But
yes, which is one of my favorites.
It is a fun ride. And at Disney, they actually just opened a new ride not long ago. It was last year. It was the Tron ride, but that's the one in Florida.
Really? It's called the Tron ride?
Yeah, it's based on it. Well, because there was the movie Tron, and then there was the sequel. And
so funny. I'm so out of it. I don't even know is Tron like a kid's movie, or what's that about?
Tron. Well, the first one. Well, Jeff Bridges is in both of them. And the first one,
I love Jeff Bridges.
And in the first one, it was about him, and he designs this video game, but he ends up going inside of the video game, and
Oh wow!
Before Ready Player One, where it was people wearing virtual reality goggles and going into games, like he was physically going into an actual arcade game. But then the sequel involved his son going into the game to rescue Jeff Bridges' character. And then Jeff Bridges has an evil twin character.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the good and the bad.
The Dude Abides, that was, I love Jeff Bridges so much from The Big Lebowski, The Dude Abides.
Love that movie.
Oh, he's so great in it. But that's so funny too. It's called Tron because when I was in second grade, I moved from Syracuse, New York to Casanova, which is a tiny town. And the gym teacher that I had didn't know how to say my name, so he called me Tron. So Siobhan Tron. I don't know how that came about, but I was like, oh, Tron. Yeah.
And they're actually making a number three, and it was rumored that Jared Leto is going to be the villain
Oh,
in
really?
Tron. I don't know if that's true or false, but it was rumored that there's going to be a Tron 3. Garrett Hedlund, who played the Jeff Bridges' son in the second one, is returning. I don't know if Olivia Wilde is returning or not, but it has been said they're making a third one. But they made a roller coaster at the Tomorrowland in Disney's Florida.
You know, it's funny. I have 3 kids, and my favorite ride was Small World. I just love that. I could go around and around in it. But can you believe how out of it I am? I didn't even know there was a movie. Obviously, it's clearly a very, very popular movie if they made a ride of it. My
Mhm.
very first movie that I ever did was called Greedy, and it was with Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas,
Remember that one?
and my really great friend, one of my best friends ever, Mary Ellen Trainer, who was married to Bob Zemeckis and who did, Forrest Gump. And she said to me, this is before Forrest Gump. She said, I won't be able to, I'm not coming to work tomorrow because they're opening the Back to the Future ride.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, that's great. Why are you going to that? She said, well, my husband directed it and wrote it. And I was like, oh, you don't say. That was at Universal. So that's so funny.
What if you had to pick a second ride besides Small World at Disney, what would the second ride be?
Oh boy, let me think. Well, I know Space Mountain. I was crazed because I was like,
Same here.
what? It's like the signs are like, you will have a heart attack. If you have any problems, do not get on this. And then it was in the dark, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's all my kids wanted to go on. So I'm thinking I haven't been there in so long. What? I like the pirate one. What was
Mhm.
that one?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
I like the one with the characters.
Oh yes, like the characters
Yeah.
are the best. And
Yeah.
speaking of pirates, we had Kev McNally for season 2. He played Josh McGibbs in Pirates of the Caribbean. He was here for season 2.
Oh, that's cool.
And speaking of science fiction, you played Vincent D'Onofrio's wife in Men in Black 1. Now, what was that experience getting to work on that sci-fi movie?
Okay. Well, first of all, Barry Sonnenfeld, who directed, was awesome. And Vincent was awesome. At the time, my daughter Bernadette was like 18 months old.
Mhm.
And I was just supposed to go out to LA, be there for like 2 days, come back. So with a baby, you're like, okay, my husband will watch the baby. I'll just go and come back. Well, there's like this torrential downpour for like a week. And in LA, the soil is like clay. So we filmed that on the Little House on the Prairie set, for people that are my age would know. And so you had to get up this hill to be able to film, to get to the house. So the tires would just go around and around and around because the soil was like clay. So inevitably every day they'd be like, we're not gonna be able to shoot it. We can't get up the hill. So every day after day, I'd get my makeup, and then they'd be like, we're not gonna do it. So finally we were able to shoot it. And I was dying to get home because I had a little baby. And when you are in a film, the close-up for an actor who is the more well-known will go first.
Mhm.
But Barry knew that I was like dying to get home to the baby. And he's like, Vincent, would you mind if Siobhan went first so we could shoot her out? Which a lot of times is really rough too, because the actor wants the other actor there. And he was so nice. He was like, sure. And his makeup was so difficult because
Mhm.
the eyes had to be pulled down, like below the socket,
Yep.
to make him look the way he looked.
Mhm.
And the fabulous Rick Davis was the makeup artist, and Vincent had to have drops all the time because he couldn't even blink his eyes. So it's
I
like,
can imagine.
we blink apparently to get moisture. And so he was so nice because he was in pain. He's like, yeah, I get it with the baby. You got to go home. So anyway, but all in all, it was just such a great experience. So the top makeup people, the top director, Barry, and writers, and Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. It was just awesome experience.
And in the movie, there's a scene where we see the mini ship that the alien crash landed on the farm. It's a mini UFO. We see it crash, and then we see
Right.
Vincent D'Onofrio, the alien as Vincent D'Onofrio, rolling the mini UFO out of the giant hole. Did you get to see the UFO by any chance?
No. So they would just say, boom, it lands, and you see it, you see it, you see it, and action. You know what I mean? So
What?
it was like, I mean, I guess, would that be considered CGI? That was the beginning of,
Well, I don't know if I mean, yes, there's CGI in the film. Yes, there's puppeteers, but I don't know if
maybe that wasn't, see, I'm so bad with that kind of thing, but no, I did not see it. So a lot of times, same with like in the kitchen when I was doing the scene with Vincent, he'd be like, okay, and he's pulling his head, his skin is falling off, his head is coming off, and he'd be like, Siobhan, you see. I'm like, yeah. And meanwhile, you're just kind of like waiting till Ben Barry says action. Now we're gonna do the rest of the scene.
I laugh every time I watch this scene when your character is like your skin is like it's like
Your skin is falling off your bones. And then
he
I'm
just pulls it back.
yeah, and I'm not an athlete in any way. And also, they were like, okay, then Siobhan, we have a stunt man for you to faint onto this mattress. And I was like, okay, listen, I am really unathletic. How am I going to like fall straight backwards? Is this going to work? So you just had to trust it that the guy was going to be there with the mattress and you were going to break your back. It would be a different day and age if I had to do that now.
Well, shame on them that you did get to see the UFO.
Yeah, what the heck? Maybe we need a reshoot.
Exactly. And when it comes to movies, I mean, yes, we still get to see more puppeteer, and we need to see more puppeteer because that's what makes it look realistic, even though it's fiction, but still
Right.
that's what makes it realistic.
Yeah.
Do you prefer CGI or do you prefer uh, like realistic miniature effects and
Oh, I would prefer realistic anytime.
Oh, same
Because
here.
yeah, because you can't, you're just like trying to picture it and then you see it afterwards and you're like, no, this is crazy. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
unbelievable what they can do, really.
Like Star Wars.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the budgets that it takes to do it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's any film genre that you prefer, what would it be?
I mean, I really love it's so weird because I mean, I was really pegged for comedy for so long, but I really love a good drama. Like I mean, both well, my first film that I wrote, Rushed, is a thriller, but Shelter and Solitude is a drama. I mean, it's comedic as well. There's funny parts up to it, but it's about a guy on death row. And then I'm like the country singer who's washed up. And play a funny character. And Robert Patrick, who's T1000, plays my husband in Rushed, and he plays my brother in Shelter and Solitude. But, and people will say it's a serious movie, but why is it funny? I always think that funny things happen to I mean, bad things happen to funny people. So
Mhm.
I love that genre.
Nice. And what is the biggest advice you would pass on to folks that want to go into acting or comedy or stunt work?
Run for the hills. No, I'm only kidding. I would say follow your passion. Don't let people tell you no. It's not the normal walk of life, especially you're Ohio, I'm Syracuse, which is basically the same thing. People, they want you to be parents, friends want you to be secure and safe. But if you're not, if your passion is film or the arts, go for it. And it takes a little longer than people in other fields, but life is short and you want to follow your dreams. So go for it.
And recently, my dad rewatched the movie that was on TV the other day, and that was Daddy Daycare.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he actually knows, and I didn't notice at first, but I just noticed that you were in the movie. And what was your experience getting to work with Eddie Murphy, who is also a former SNL member?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love Eddie Murphy. It's so funny. I've worked with so many people from SNL. When I did Greedy, my very first movie, Phil Hartman, may he rest in peace, with my husband. And then Eddie Murphy was Daddy Daycare. Trying to think of over the years of all the people I've worked with from SNL, but it was, that was crazy because that was right after a year after 9/11, and I was supposed to fly to LA, and I was like, I'm not flying on 9/11. My husband was worked, thank God he survived, but right in the towers. But um I I mean, I love Eddie Murphy. He was awesome. He's a great, classy guy, quiet, smart guy, and obviously a genius. So, it was a real thrill for me.
I don't remember. I'll keep it short, but I don't remember 9/11 that well because I was very, very
I
low.
was so young.
I'm
I'm
25. I was
Oh yeah, you were
20.
just yeah, because my son is
Yeah.
I have a 26-year-old son, so I know he was in oh my gosh, he was in preschool. Yeah, and I had a bit my daughter, yes, you don't remember, but yeah, it was terrifying. And
Yeah.
And the thing, a year later was a big deal. It was like things are back to normal, and they weren't. Everybody's kind of like PTSD.
Mhm.
But Eddie Murphy, and then it's crazy. Like, as a kid, of course, and a teenager, I thought, oh my gosh, Eddie Murphy. And then same with Holes. When I did Holes,
Mhm.
Henry Winkler is my husband, who was the Fonz, who your parents would know. And of course, everybody knows
Me too.
Henry Winkler from so many movies and Waterboy. And anyway, so it's so fun when you get to work with someone that I loved as well,
Yeah. But I mean, I just can't imagine how scary it was for everyone. I mean, I just
Oh, terrible. I mean, I was like, no way am I flying on that day. I was like, no, no, no. I was like, you either go on the 10th or the 12th, but I'm not flying on the 11th. They wanted me to fly on the 11th. I was like, no.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was like doing your best to get back to normal, but still scared to death.
I did read that Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, actually survived a plane because one of the planes that was going to New York, his flight, he was supposed to get on that plane, but what
Yes.
happened was that he had I don't know because I don't know him that well, but from what I've heard, he was at a party and he had a hangover, and so
Oh,
he didn't make
thank
it to his flight, so
God.
he had to get on a different flight. And
Thank
I mean,
God. My God. Yeah. Horrible. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Stories like that. You just think, I don't know. Talk about thank your lucky stars, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just I just
Horrible.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah, because I remember when I first heard the story, I originally thought like the building was too high, but then once I found out it was attack, I was like, oh.
Oh, yeah. It was horrible.
When I was in Vegas this past year, we stayed at the New York, which lovely hotel by the way. If you and your kids ever get a chance to go to the New York, definitely recommend. It's one of the best hotels in Vegas.
Okay.
And something I didn't realize, but inside of the hotel they structure it like if you're walking in New York City and there's like a silhouette of the skyscrapers. Well, you see all the skyscrapers lit, but if you look very carefully, like the two twin towers which are still there, they actually turn those off. They turned
Wow.
off the lights to that building so that way it's not
In your face.
so that way
Yeah.
it's not like a slap in
Yeah.
the face.
Yeah. I was 9 months pregnant with my third child, Sinead, and had my appointment at 14th Street, looked right at the towers. And when I knew my husband was there and I walked in, we thought a helicopter hit the first one, and then slowly started to realize what was happening. And my doctor, who's Indian, was like, I think the tower's going to fall. And I watched the first one fall, and then I left, and I didn't know if my husband was alive or not. And my third child was coming. Anyway, yeah, it was terrible. So, and so many kids now that my daughter Sinead, who's 23, I know a lot of people whose kids were raised with no dad.
Mhm. We are coming down to the end of the interview,
Yes,
and we have two famous questions.
sure.
My mother, who loves the movie Going in Style,
Oh yeah,
and and you worked with a lot of great actors in that movie, like Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman,
yes,
Alan Arkin, rest his
yeah.
soul. So they also throw in a lot of nostalgic memories with the three guys. If there's any like retro product from that movie that you really enjoyed, what would it be? Like or something you wish you had that was retro related.
Oh, that's such an interesting question. Well, first of all, being in the diner that was retro, like I just
With all
love.
that.
I love all like. I love and my daughter Sinead is so into retro. Her apartment is like Janis Joplin, and like she's got all these cool retro
Mhm.
pictures, and so I'm thinking from Going in Style. Well, I always used to love the old napkin holders and the old jukebox,
Mhm.
flip in the diners, or just an old jukebox, or even the old cigarette machines were so cool. All this stuff that people throw out. You're like, don't throw anything out because it's gonna come back and be like cool, and especially because I produced my two movies with my husband and my son. Um, you want sets to look really authentic, and you think to yourself, oh, why did I throw that out? Why did I throw that out? Of course, then you ready to kill my husband when he keeps too many things. But yeah, like and some of the old cars are just so cool, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that. I mean, wouldn't working with Henry Winkler be something retro like? Because he was Fonz from Happy Days.
Oh yeah, the Fonz. Listen, from Things Gone Old, I must be retro now. I'm like an old penny. So yeah. I mean, that's just amazing to get that chance, to work with Henry Winkler.
And for our final question, my mom always has the best questions.
I love that.
She wants to know if there was a movie you had to spend the rest of your life watching. Like, let's say there was no movies, there was only this movie left on. Like, if there was an apocalypse similar to I Am Legend or Omega Man that happened,
Yeah.
there was only one movie
Okay.
that was still left in the theater, what would it be?
That would be The Sound of Music, because I love The Sound of Music, and The Hills Are Alive with The Sound of Music, and I just loved it. I even went to Austria and went on the Sound of Music tour.
Lucky.
He went in a van and they blasted the Sound of Music, and I was like, oh, there's the gazebo, and I was like, how do you solve a problem like Maria? I loved it.
And this, I'm very interested in this Sound of Music tour. So is it all the like? Do you travel to the locations of the real life story or the movie version?
You travel to the locations of the. Oh, that's a good question. Of the movie version where they filmed it. Yeah. I know it was a while ago that I did it, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah. Something I just realized in the movie version the other day is that back in the day when they had intermissions with movies, they actually kept the intermission in that movie, both Disney Plus version and DVD.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Siobhan, thank you for your time for this interview.
Thank you.
Wish you the best for the new year.
I hope your fans will watch Shelter in Solitude, the movie that I just wrote that came out this year on Amazon, Apple, and all that, and Rushed as well, which came out a couple of years ago. And follow me on Siobhan Fallon Hogan on Instagram.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and follow us on Instagram. See you next week.